Congo Helping Hands, lately the manager of the Presbyterian Methodist Hospital in Kinshasa.
I'm glad to be back here. Several years I had a death in the family that I had to go to, and then some other years I was working with Larry, and he had me doing contracts that was spanned out to keep him on schedule. I had to stay over in the Congo to do things, and then finally, my most recent, last year, I was waiting on a visa to come back. So I haven't been here, so it's good to see everybody again, and I really appreciate that. So what I'm going to do is, for some of the people who may not know our story, we started as a result of the partnership with the Whitewater Valley Presbytery with the North Kasai Synod. That was back in 1996 when 3 members of the Presbytery went over to the Congo. I went over on the second trip in 1998 with 9 other people from the Presbytery, and we, at that point in time, spent most of our time up in Mweka and Bulape. After we came back and was evacuated back, we decided to start Congo Helping Hands. So we talked to the Presbytery, and they thought it was a good idea because it was the things that we were coming up with was much larger than the Presbytery's budget, total budget almost. And so they said, yep, it's a great idea, and what do you need us to do? So we asked them for some seed money, and we started Congo Helping Hand. We got our approval for RS approved 501c3. We also, after we got that, we registered with the Ministry of Health in the Congo. And so we started focusing on rural health since we were mainly in Bulape, and also water, hygiene, and sanitation projects. So I am the current president. Been looking for somebody to replace me. As Jimmy said, we're all getting older, and so I'm looking for a younger person. So if you know of any younger person, at least 10 years younger than me, who would be willing to take it over, we will give you the keys to the door. I'm a ruling elder with the Faith Presbyterian Church in the Whitewater Valley. This is some of our earlier pictures, and for those people who may not know, wrong button. One of the people with the white hat on is Dr. Bernard. He was up there, and we became good friends with him, and he's now Larry's technical director on IMA. We did work with the schools. This is one of the schools, the mud and thatch roofs after the rainy season, so we worked on that. But one of the most important things that has happened to us in the past is we ran into another missionary, a Catholic missionary in Kananga, Jeff Mullins, and he's Catholic with the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. And so he wanted to join us to reduce overhead and red tape. So he joined us, and so now we have a dual focus of both Presbyterian projects and Catholic projects. And so he keeps me busy because the Catholic process is putting in money, and I want to keep the Presbyterians up on the same side of the thing, so it keeps me going. So what we focus on right now is being the hands and feet for our Presbyterian churches and also Catholic parishes. They come up with a project, we suggest a project, and they want to fund it, we will help them, execute it and get it done. Back to our roots of rural water. I think you probably can spot the Congo up there. It's in the red. Currently, about 50% of the Congo is without clean water. And as somebody else mentioned, in the rural area, it's more than 50%. It's around about 75% of the rural areas are without safe drinking water. So we started this quest to do drilling wells. We had a well drilling machine. I say had, and I'll get to that in a little bit. And that person with this bandana off his head is Paul Law, Methodist missionary. And so we were up in Lozier drilling a well up at his location. Also, I mentioned Larry had me doing some projects. We did some water quality testing with Larry, and so we were throughout the Kasai. At that time, it was one Kasai. So we went down to the Angolan border, all the way up almost to Luebo, and then we've also done some training in the same area. But those are spots that we tested the water quality. For the most part, the water quality is not good. It's unsafe. You may not be able to spot it, but there's some blue dots up there, plenty of blue dots. The red dots is just simple bacteria, if you want to call it. And there's some red dots, the blue dots are E. coli colonies. So we've also worked with Larry, and we translated some of the manuals for the life straw filters. The larger life straw filter is a community filter that was going into health clinics and schools, and the smaller ones were going into family houses, the homeowners. So we've done, helped institute training programs for that filter, those two filters. Also went to Nairobi to the Life Straw Africa office to do training on how to take them apart and try to rehabilitate someone when they're not taken care of. We've also started our own distribution to schools in Kananga. But everything's moving along great until the Camino Sapo started. And this is some pictures from up at Bulape of people moving, getting out of harm's way. I was in Kananga during the, right when Zeta and Michael went missing, and I left the week that they were reported as being, their bodies had been found. What that created was about 5,000 people were killed throughout the Kasai. That's the figures that the Catholic Church put out. And the UN has supported, and they supported 1.4 million people were displaced. So what does the displaced people look like? This is my house in Kananga. I was in the States, but those are the people from Ganza and the surrounding communities that were in my backyard, looking for food, looking for safety. And so immediately after this happened, I started getting messages, oh, send money. We got hundreds of people in our yard and we need to, try to feed them. So we got together a project, mainly supported by the Catholic in Wisconsin. They donated money, and we went to, sent food over to this one orphanage. And these orphanages was created by children running one way and the parents running another way. The children was at school, they couldn't get back at home. Whatever could happen, it happened. And so we went over and provided food to this orphanage. Also, later in last year, we decided to do a food distribution because a lot of the World Food Program was doing the distribution, but they were going out to some of the major areas, which we didn't really want to go out to some of the major areas because it was still quite dangerous. So we did some distributions in villages surrounding Kananga. So we gave out 600 families food, and that food consisted of ground meal, of maize, corn. We also provided cassava. We also provided palm oil, where the UN was providing vegetable oil, and most of the people like the palm oil, so we got palm oil and provided that to them. So this is one of our distributions where people came in and got the sack of meal and things, salt and sugar. One of the final things that we decided to do was do some farm restoration, because what we found out was when everybody left, I don't know if you kind of follow the Congo, when everybody leaves their farms, it doesn't stop raining, it doesn't stop, the sun doesn't stop shining. So within a matter of months, the farms had grew up to a point where they could not be manually harvested again. So in the Congo, there's very few tractors, so everything is done manually. So we got together, rented a tractor, and went out to some fields where people we vetted the people and said, are y'all ready to start farming again? They said yes. So we rented a tractor, and this is one of the fields that we did. We did about 10 acres where we plowed the fields, prepared them to be planted again, and we provided the seeds. If they needed seeds, we provided other things that they needed, but we did not pay them a salary. That was part of our deal is, hey, if we're gonna put you back to work, you need some skin in the game, and your skin in the game is actually doing the work. So here's the ladies and the men, they're planting the cassava, which it takes about 2 years for the cassava to come up, but however, those are some of the peanuts coming up that before I left that year, the peanuts were coming up, and that's a cassava plant coming up. So we think it was a success. So right now we're looking for additional groups to vet and start farming on those. One last question. I got to do this. I got a slip up here.
1 point and then 1 question.
Okay. Larry has handed me I'm blaming everything on Larry. Larry, one of the gaps that Jimmy was talking about was he just mentioned to me that under the new contract, the water system at both Luebo Hospital and Bulape Hospital is incomplete, and he won't be able to complete it. So we're raising money at this time we're looking for funds to finish those water projects. I don't know how much it is. He's going to get me the figures, but we're looking for churches who are willing to come in and support us as we complete those water projects at Bulape and Luebo.
I wanted to ask, what is cassava, a fruit, a vegetable, or a grain?
It's more like a potato. It's a starch. It's a carbohydrate. It's a tubular. Then it grows, and in the Kasai they eat both the leaves and the root. Well, you need more than that.